welcome to Yanaka Gearco. Today we're going to give you guys a quick overview of the different charge controllers that Victron offers. We sell these to a lot of different customers in a lot of different fields, and we routinely get a lot of the same questions over and over, and so we thought it might be helpful to just do a quick overview of the differences between some of the smaller charge controllers, the largest charge controllers that we typically see, and just some of the things in between, and maybe help you guys figure out which one of these might be the best fit for your application. So as we start down here at the smaller end of the spectrum, we have the MPPT 7510. All right, so the first thing that I want to cover is what that 7510 actually means. So 75 is the voltage rating for this particular unit, and 10 is the amperage rating for this unit. Okay, now one thing that people don't think about often is that that number actually covers the input and the output. So you can send 75 volts at 10 amps to this unit, all right, but it's also only going to be able to charge within those same parameters, all right? So if we are charging at 10 amps maximum and it's a 12 volt system, this guy can only accept and actually use something in the neighborhood of 120 watts of solar. Now, when you take that into consideration and you go down here to the 150/70, right, one of the bigger models that we typically see, you know, this guy can charge at 70 amps, okay? So this guy could realistically use something in the neighborhood of 840 watts of input and still charge a 12 volt battery. Now, if we consider what it means to operate using 12 volts or 24 volts, right? If you're using a 24 volt system, this unit could charge a 24 volt system at 10 amps as well. So you could realistically get, you know, almost double the solar output from this unit because you're charging a 24 volt battery bank. So that is something to consider when you're choosing some of these charge controllers. As you move up and down in voltage in your battery bank, you may or may not be able to utilize more solar by choosing the right charge controller. Okay, now a few other things that I wanted to cover in terms of differences among these units is, you know, when you start down here in the smaller sizes, you'll notice some unique things about these units, all right? So the units that are rated 120 and smaller, all right, they look like this, or they get even smaller, right, like the 7515 or the 7510 looks like this. These units actually have a battery, battery terminals, all right? So these are actually going to feed your battery bank. You have PV, which is actually your solar input, and then you have load, okay? So this unit can actually be used in very similar fashion to Victron's Battery Protect in a real small system. So this load output here, you can actually control, if you have the smart solar charge controller, you can actually set this up with a few different parameters as to how you want it to control your load, right? Specifically, you could tell it to cut off at a specific voltage, or you could tell it to do a few other things, but primarily it operates as a battery protect, and you could tell it to, right, you could tell it to switch off the DC output at a specific voltage if you wanted to do that. The other unique thing about all of these units is they all have the VE Direct port, right? So this one is actually right here. And so VE Direct is going to allow you to hook this up to a Servo GX, and the benefit of that is that you'll be able to see this unit in VRM, which is going to allow you to remotely monitor these units, which is incredibly beneficial, especially for those of you who are doing maybe some mobile applications where that functionality really helps you, especially in measuring performance or, let's say, troubleshooting, for example. One other thing that I'll point out while I've got this unit in my hand is some of these smaller units actually also have a fuse on them, and so you'll notice this one has a 25 amp fuse that is also unique to some of the smaller charge controllers. Once you move up from the 120, right, another super common unit that we see, especially in the van market, is the 130. All right, so, you know, if you're charging a 12 volt battery bank at 30 amps, you know, this guy right here is sized really well for that like 400 watt range. And so we see this used in that application quite a bit. you will want to ensure that you are buying the smart solar version of these charge controllers. They do sell non-smart versions, but the usability, functionality, and just the ability to see this in Victron Connect, in my personal opinion, and in all the installs we've done, is absolutely invaluable. So I'd strongly recommend you guys to grab the smart version. I think you'll be slightly disappointed if you get the non-smart version, unless you have a very specific application where cost is critical and you know exactly what you need and the smart functionality doesn't add any benefit. But typically people will enjoy the smart functionality. Beyond the 130, I've actually got these out of order here. You have the 150, okay? So the 150, you'll notice, is virtually identical in size and shape, right? So this is another unit that we see in camper vans specifically very often. This one gives you a little more output on the charge side of the equation, right? So it will charge at 50 amps. And so a lot of times you'll bump up to this one if you think that, you're for sure gonna move beyond 400 watts. Let's say you're gonna go to 600 watts. You may wanna consider grabbing a unit like this. And then when we move beyond this, we typically are seeing applications where there are, there's more than 400, 600 watts of solar, right? And so the theory applies across the product line. Again, you've got the 150/35. You can throw 150 volts at it. It'll charge at 35 amps. So, people will use this in applications where they've got a little higher voltage solar array, something like that. Perhaps they've got much larger panels. Maybe this is a better fit for like a residential application or something like that. And then, the math continues on up the chain, right? So the 150/70, you'll see this in a lot of smaller residential applications, or you'll see this used where there are a lot of different solar, PV banks put together, right? So, pretty cool units, a lot of different features, and in terms of how they change from smaller to larger, one of the other things that you'll notice about some of these larger units is you do get a few more features. For example, that right there, I know you guys probably can't see it, but it says display option. You can actually put a display on this unit that will allow you to select a couple different features and see some different things. These units also have a relay on the bottom that you can use for some unique situations, right? If you wanted to control another device in your system, let's say a battery protect, you could actually use this relay to do XYZ based on, let's say, like the charge parameter, right? So let's say your batteries went into float, okay, they're more or less fully charged. You could have that relay turn on a specific device. We've seen it used for, passively sending solar to, let's say, like a water heater or something like that. So hopefully that helps you guys a little bit, especially in just seeing the sizes of these beside each other and also kind of understanding their limitations. Kind of just wanted to give you guys a feel for what some of these numbers mean and also give you guys some guidance on how to select the right solar charge controller. But if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out, give us a call, or shoot us an email. We're here to help.